Pakistan's obsession with Turkey has gone from Ertugrul and Halime Sultan to the Hagia Sophia Mosque and whether it should be converted into a mosque. To understand whether this is a win for Muslims, I have with me prominent TV anchor and political commentator, Dr. Moeed Pirzada. Moeed, thank you so much for joining me.
Najma, thanks for letting me explain a situation which has several dimensions, and it's very important and very interesting for us.
Where did it all start from?
To some extent, there was a resentment in a religious section of the Turkish society, even in 1935, when Mustafa Kemal Attaturk took the decision, which was quite an unprecedented decision in a way of converting a mosque like Hagia Sophia, that was a mosque for past 500 years, and he converted that into a museum. And very few people really understand why he did that, especially outside Turkey. So it was a decision that kept on smoldering. There was a resentment against it, but this resentment took a greater political form with the rise of AKP in 1990s, and subsequently when Recep Tayyip Erdogan became the prime minister and then the president from 2002 onwards. This demand was somehow or the other there. When you ask me more questions, I'll explain the various dimensions of this demand.
So many people say it was to burnish his secular credentials that Mustafa Kemal had to do this in 1934. Do you agree with that?
No, this is not true. Well, this is precisely in 99.99% of the cases. I mean, all across the media, from United Kingdom, United States, India, Pakistan, and on the social media, everyone is actually writing this thing, and this is patently flawed and incorrect. This was not the context in which Mustafa Kemal Attaturk in 1934 and 35 took this decision. People also think, I mean, let me explain, this thing is very important and I would like you to develop on it. Many people in Pakistan, especially in Pakistan, they think that Mustafa Kemal Attaturk and Turkey were forced to take this decision. This was the decision they took in a moment of weakness. They were trying to appease the West, because they were a defeated power in the First World War. Many people have written on the Twitter that this is justified now, the conversion back into the mosque, because Turks were forced to take this decision under the Western pressure. They were weak, and this was a sort of appeasement. And now this is the right thing to do because, how could you convert a mosque into back into a museum? But this is not true, not at all. I mean, people who are making these kind of comments, they do not have any understanding that if in the Muslim history in the past 150 years, at least 125 years, if there has been one force and one commander or one general that decisively defeated the Western forces on a battleground, not on a table of negotiation, but across the battleground to the power of the gun, that was Mustafa Kemal Attaturk.
So you're saying it
defeated the British
position of weakness, then was it from a position of strength? So what was the purpose behind him taking this decision?
Yeah, definitely. I will explain to you why he took this decision from a position of extreme strength and why he took that decision. But first of all, let me explain that Mustafa Kemal Attaturk is the only Muslim commander in the last 150 years that decisively defeated the combined military powers of the British, the French, the Italians, the Bolshevik Russians who were actually backing the Armenians. He was a genius in terms of the military strategy and tactics. And he defied the will of the then Ottoman Sultan that had actually compromised in the Treaty of Sèvres, which the French called the Treaty of Sèvres in 1919. And when Turkey was actually being partitioned, I mean, the plan was to basically reduce Turkey to create so many autonomous nation states out of Turkey. The Turks were not supposed to be sovereign in any part of the present Turkey. But when this Treaty of Sèvres, the Ottoman Sultan representatives in Treaty of Sèvres signed the document, the nationalists under the Mustafa Kemal Attaturk rose in revolt and rebellion against the decision from the Anatolia, and they defied it. I mean, it was the nationalists then took on the combined military power of, the Allies, the Britain, the Italy, the France, and the Greeks had actually occupied Istanbul fully after 1918, and several other parts like Edirne, Izmir, and several other cities, Busra, they were all under Allied or the Greek control. But Mustafa Kemal Attaturk led one after the other military resistance to the nationalist military and defeated them all. The first one he defeated were the Armenians and the Bolsheviks, Russians. Then he took on the Greeks, he took on the Italians, he took on the French one by one. So Italian and French dropped out of it, and ultimately the British realized it's an unwinnable situation. Even Americans were a party who wanted to create an independent state of Armenia. So everybody recognized that it was difficult to suppress the kind of resistance that was coming from Anatolia. So Turks are the only Muslim power in the recent history of past 100 years that have faced the European modern armies face to face. I mean, nowhere else in the Muslim world had anyone ever had the ability to challenge a modern European army. So this is an extremely stupid comment to basically think that Mustafa Kemal Attaturk took the decision to convert the Hagia Sophia Mosque into, in 1934, almost several years after the First World War, from a position of weakness. No, he moved from a position of strength, and I can explain you why.
What is his rationale? What is your understanding of what his rationale was for converting?
So what happened was that after the First World War, Mustafa Kemal Attaturk was very quick to realize, and he told all his colleagues and cabinet members that there will be a second war. He understood that the kind of treaty of the Versailles that was forced upon the Germans by the French and by the English would actually rebound, and there would actually be a reaction, and there would be a second war. He wanted to keep Turkey away from a second world war. And in the early 1930s, by 1933-34, it was becoming pretty obvious that the world will move toward another big war, and the Bolshevik Soviet Union, Russia, and the fascist Italy were actually making moves in the Balkans. So Turkey, along with the Greece, wanted to basically create an alliance of the Balkan states, Turkey, Greece, Bulgaria, against a possible expansionist move by the fascist Italians. So when the Turks approached and they were in negotiations with the Greeks for this Balkan pact, the then Greek Prime Minister conveyed to Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, who was the president of Turkey, through the Turkish Prime Minister, who was in negotiations, the look, Turks are seen as, because Greeks had extremely painful feelings about Turkey. The Turkey ruled Greece for 400 years. I mean, few people realize this, that, the cradle of the Western civilization, Greece, was ruled for 400 years by Turkey. And that was not necessarily a very kind of rule. And also, in the First World War, when Greeks were part of the victorious British and French, they thought that they will reclaim Constantinople and get back, the city of the Constantinople. So Greeks were very hurt. And they said, if you only convert Hagia Sophia back into a cathedral, it will actually be a very popular decision with the Greeks, and it will help in absorbing and accepting the Balkan Pact and becoming a Turkish ally against Bulgaria and against Italy. So instead of converting that, he thought of a museum. And one of the reasons which no one understand was that in 1933, the Hagia Sophia Mosque was totally dilapidated. Very few people were ever coming to basically pray over there. And to understand what I'm saying, one has to understand, I have been one of those people who had the opportunity of visiting Turkey and the Faith District again. These kind of massive architectural structures need at least ₹1 billion in Pakistani terms a year to repair and sustain them. So the Turkish government didn't have any funds, and the Hagia Sophia Mosque was extremely dilapidated. And Mustafa Kemal Atatürk and some other people around him thought that, if we convert that into a museum, it will receive international funding, from all across the world. And precisely this happened, even before the United Nations, and subsequently when United Nations and UNESCO were created, UNESCO has been heavily funding, the sustenance of the Hagia Sophia Museum, and between 3 to 4 million people were visiting the museum every year. And now, when this decision has been taken, there are only two real parties. When I look at United States, UK, European Union, and part of the Western media, even Indian media. I'm shocked. People in Indian media are actually criticizing, Erdogan's decision. So
on that, I would actually like to ask you that, the major powers, now that you see, you saw a statement from Pompeo, the Secretary of State, suggesting that Turkey should not do this before the decision was made. And similar comments came out of Russia as well. Yet, when we compare this, and I'd like to take you to India for a second, when we compare this to the Babri Mosque and the state and the Supreme Court decision that was made there in November 2019, which allowed the Babri Mosque to be returned into becoming a temple, we heard nothing from these Western countries, Russia, USA, or any of the other countries to protest against this. What is your understanding why they've taken a stronger stance here than they did there against India?
Regarding Pompeo, I was thinking that after Pompeo, the only man who should have actually also condemned the Erdogan was Narendra Modi. Because once, Pompeo and his State Department remained literally shut up and quiet, the British, the Americans, and no one spoke when Narendra Modi and RSS, basically forced the Indian Supreme Court to extract a very dangerous decision from the Indian Supreme Court, in which the Indian Supreme Court, in a way, legitimized the destruction of the Babri Mosque, and burying the Indian secularism forever. right? I mean, this was, and the Americans and the British and the Europeans, by and large, remained shut. So what moral authority Mike Pompeo or anyone in Britain had to condemn that decision? And the same is the hypocrisy from people in Pakistan, who basically think that, you know, the shahadat of the Babri Mosque was bad act, or the Indian Supreme Court justifying the destruction or the demolition of the Babri Mosque, you know, should be condemned. But at the same time, they do not have any moral courage or intelligence to be able to see that what Recep Tayyip Erdogan is doing also needs critical examination. Having said this, I agree that this was a mosque of 500 years. Here, it is not that a cathedral is being converted into a mosque. Here, a museum is being converted back, or has been converted back into the mosque, which was a mosque to begin with. So we do not really have that kind of argument the way we had in case of, you know, Babri Mosque and the India. But still, we cannot really take a position and say that what the Indian Supreme Court did on case of the Babri Mosque was flawed, was incorrect. It was immoral or unethical, and at the same time we say no, we're very happy that, you know, the Erdogan is converting a museum back into a mosque. So there is double hypocrisy on the part of the Muslims and on part of the Western world.
So do you think this is a win for Muslims?
No, how can we say this is a win for the Muslims? I mean, the argument once again is this, that somehow or the other the Muslims were pressured into, they were appeasing the West. It's nothing like that. I mean, this was an independent Turkish decision, which was for two reasons. One, the Hagia Sophia Mosque was in a very dilapidated condition. They simply had no means. And even now, it would be a problem once you convert into a mosque, and the UNESCO funding, which is coming year after year, will stop. The Turkish government will need huge amount of funds. And you know, you have visited Turkey, I have visited Turkey several points, and I have spent a lot of time in the Faith District. On any normal standard day, there are not even 100 or few hundred people in these large mosques, like Suleymaniye Mosque or the Blue Mosque, and, you know, and these mosques are large architectural majestic structures which have been constructed to basically for thousands of people praying at one point, but not thousands of people not praying. Maybe on Friday or on special occasions, thousands of people are there. So state has to spend huge amounts of money. What Erdogan has now done is a pure political act, you know, because the AKP is not as popular as it used to be several years ago. There are a lot of political and economic problems. So he has tried to bolster the political support of the AKP through this action. People in Pakistan are unable to understand what's happening inside Turkey.
So it's domestic politics, you're saying, basically?
100%, without any doubt.
So for a second, I'd like to take you between Turkey and Greece, the relations post the conversion of the Hagia Sophia into a mosque now. One of the strongest comments against this came from Greece, where the Greek cultural minister made a statement saying that this was nationalism displayed by Erdogan, and it takes back the country over 6 centuries. Do you think what's this going to do to Turkish-Greek relations in the short term?
You know, as I said a few moments earlier, there are only two parties that can have resentment, and they have a right to basically condemn that decision. One is Greece, the other is UNESCO. UNESCO, because it funded for 80 years, it generously funded the structure, you know, from the international funding. And the Greek Orthodox and the Greek Orthodox Church has a point, because first of all, it was their majestic history. I mean, let's not forget this thing that Rome, which was the initial center of the Roman civilization or the Roman Empire, was overran by Scythians and by the Gauls and by the Germanic tribes in the middle of the 5th century. And then the center of gravity of the Roman Empire was shifted to the Byzantine Empire, which was conveniently called as the Eastern Roman Empire. And Constantinople was the center of that empire. So this structure, this huge cathedral, which was created in 5th and 6th century, remained the center of the Byzantine empires. You know, it's the most important structure. In a way, it's like Vatican itself. So they remained the structure for almost 1,000 years. And now, and finally, you know, it was a huge loss to Greek civilization. And then Greek itself was actually ruled by the Turks, which is very hard feeling for them. And the 1935 Act of Mustafa Kemal was only to engage Greece. It was basically to buy Greek friendship. It was not a capitulation to the West.
But it hasn't been very successful, right? Because if there was anybody who was always against Turkey's entry into the EU, it was always Greece taking that stance. In fact,
yes, also it was because of the Cyprus issue, you know, because in 1970s, Turkey forcibly did the military action and Cyprus was divided. I was invited by the Cyprus government, the Turkish Cyprus government a few years ago, and I realized that both Turkey and Turkish Cyprus government now eagerly want Turkey and Greece to have good relationship, so that the entry of so that the Cyprus could either be united, or the Turkish Cyprus should also be admitted to the European Union, because the Greek part of the Cyprus has actually made tremendous material progress as a result of the free trade with the European Union, and the Turks are very poor off on the other side. So history keeps on changing, but let me repeat this thing: the only people who really have a reason to be angry are not the Americans, are not the French, are not the Europeans, are not the English, no one else. They are only the Greek people, because it was the Greek history and the pact that was done in 1934-35 by Mustafa Kemal Attaturk was with the Greeks.
So my final question to you is, what is your thought? What would Hagia Sultan have to say about this?
Hagia Sultan, I have absolutely no
or
idea.
Ezra Bilgich, which
is a big phenomena. I mean, we keep on hearing that she'll be in Pakistan soon, but let's see. I mean, if she comes, people will definitely ask her this question. Let's see how she defends that.
We thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.